Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over the manual in the Jeep Wrangler. I'm going to give you guys some really cool benefits with this manual transmission. Before we get into this video, huge shout out and thank you to the Jeep here in Pro for giving me some time with this Wrangler. Link to their website in the description down below. Link to my car buying guide as well. Let's get right into it. So first off, I have my foot on the brake but not on the clutch, and you can see if I hold down, it's going to turn on the electronics, but it won't actually turn on the Jeep. So if you make the mistake of for some reason not pushing in the clutch, no problem. Now the next cool thing, foot on the clutch, push in, and it'll start right up. So you don't actually have to have your foot on the brake to start it up, just on the clutch. Which makes logical sense because you do have an e-brake right here. And the reason I'm mentioning this is a lot of modern cars will make you put your foot on both the brake and the clutch to start up a manual. Now the next thing is just the gears. So the shifter you can see is pretty tall, so you can actually have your arm on the center console and through the gears. So really comfortable with the positioning there. And the reverse lockout's really easy. You just pull it up and then go over with that. And by the way, this one's got the camera system, so you can actually swap between two different camera views. But yeah, really easy to shift or use, and they just did the placement really nice. Some manuals, you have like nowhere to rest your arm while you're, waiting to shift gears, and so this, having that whole setup is really nice. Now Jeep's also made things super simplistic, so you can see that we just have 1 through 6 for all 6 gears. There's no specific quote-unquote crawl gear. All you have to do is just pop this bad boy into 4-wheel low, and then first gear turns into your crawl gear. This also comes with Off-Road Plus, which will change the traction control system for off-road circumstances. And so you have that with the crawl ratio, and it'll do a lot. Now the next thing is the first gear lockout. So if I put the clutch in, put it into first gear, so I haven't released the clutch, but I'll release the brake, and you can see that we're not moving whatsoever. So it'll actually hold it, so I don't have to have my foot on both the brake and on the clutch, and then that'll give me, especially if I'm not that good of a driver, that'll give me a chance to slowly release the clutch, and then the Jeep starts moving forward. And just to prove the point, I'm now in neutral with my foot off the brake, and I'm moving very slowly. I don't know if you guys can see on camera, but I am slightly moving in reverse because this is a little bit of an incline. And now let's drive the Wrangler on the street to see how easy it is. And to my knowledge, that hill start assist feature also works off-road as well. I mean, correct me in the comment section below if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it does. And so if you're on a really steep obstacle, if you've ever taken a manual off-road, you know that that's pretty hard to do the transition of going from your foot on the brake to your foot on the gas. And so it's nice having the ability to have the car still hold the brakes for you. Now, this is paired with the V6, and it's a great engine. It's naturally aspirated, so you got a nice linear power band. And the thing that I like about having a naturally aspirated engine attached to a manual is you've got a good instant response right off the bat. So for people that are not as good at driving manual, it's actually harder to stall. Turbocharged engines a lot of times can actually be easier to stall because you've got to spool up the turbos a little bit to get things going. And so if you're not as well versed with the manual transmission, yeah, turbo engine can be easier to stall, and it's also can be a little bit more jumpy. And the reason I bring up turbo engine is because the Ford Bronco that you can also get with a manual, or could, I'm not sure if they still offer that now. Yeah, it's got a turbocharged engine with the manual. It's got a turbo 4-cylinder, very peaky. So it's not going to be as smooth as the Jeep. Now, I will say this manual is not perfect with the shift points into the gates. It definitely has a little bit of abrasiveness going into the gates. You definitely have to kind of muscle it just a little bit. And the thing that's weird is that pull-up tab can feel kind of weird as you're driving, but it's not. And it also just might be the size of my hands. I've got really long fingers, and so my fingers kind of like reach down around, it's the weird point around the little knob that you pull up. But I will say that this definitely adds to the experience of the Wrangler, especially if you get, this one's a 4-door. I picked out the 4-door because I think it's cool that you can get the manual with the 4-door, so if you need the extra practicality. But yeah, I think if you get like a 2-door Wrangler with a manual, it's like the quintessential Jeep experience, right? When you think of Jeep, you think of manual, you think of 2-door, you think of basic. And you can see it's not like incredibly fast, right? You're not gonna be able to shift as quick as the 8-speed automatic, but it ain't bad. It ain't bad at all. And the thing about manuals is, even though their 0 to 60 is pretty much always slower than an automatic, because you are shifting, right? Your mind isn't thinking about the acceleration, it's thinking about shifting the gears. The car actually doesn't feel slower in terms of, you know, from the seat of your pants, right? You're taking part in what's happening. And so the extra engagement, I would say, is a good way to put it. The extra engagement makes the car not feel slow. And I really have experiences with a lot of different vehicles when I go from the manual to the automatic. Like even sports cars, when you go from a manual to like a dual clutch, which is really quick to shift, the manual still just doesn't, from the seat of your pants, it doesn't really feel slower because you're the one that's shifting the gears. You're the one that's going. For a passenger, yeah, it's definitely going to feel slower. But the driver, and that's what's important, right? It's always the driver. Yeah, this is so much fun. And I think it's cool they offer it in the Rubicon so you can have all the off-road kit. I mean, think about this. Think about, like, because it's a 4-door, you could kind of turn this into like an overland build. So you got the space, which is nice. It's just a lot of benefits. And again, just the few bits of tech they've added over the years to make the manual more user-friendly. And I know some people are gonna say, well, if it's a manual, I want it to be a manual. I want to drive the car myself, and I respect that. But you know, I think that it's nice that it's offered, and I bet you could probably, let's see. Let me get parked here, and I want to see, I bet you could probably turn off a lot of the manual assists here. Safety and driving. Yeah, right there. Okay, so we'll get to a stop so I can show this to you guys. I just don't want to be dangerous. Because I can see, I can, you know, with touchscreen you can touch stuff out of the corner of your eye, but I want to point the GoPro towards the screen, which is not safe while driving. And look how easy the reverse is. Like, this is just Jeep. I will hand it to you. For an SUV with a manual, I've driven a lot of like SUVs and trucks with manuals. They did a really good job with this. And do they offer, I hope they offer this in Extreme Recon. I've never seen one. I don't think they do. If Jeep, if you don't, you should do that. I think some people would buy it. But yeah, so the hill start assist, you can turn that off. And so for some reason you don't want that off-road too, you can turn that off. And then, yeah, it's just for collision. But yeah, that's the biggest thing with the manual. This doesn't have auto rev match or anything like that. So it still lets you rev match yourself. But yeah, if you don't want that hill start assist, it's easy to turn it off. You just go into settings, safety and driving, and then boom. So then you could have the true manual experience where you roll back. But let me know what you guys think about the Wrangler manual here, but I think they did a great job with it. The fact they still offer it is awesome. I think that it could benefit them to offer it with the Extreme Recon. I don't know the stuff that's, because the Recon's re-geared, and so having the manual with the re-gearing, I know that might be quite a bit, but I think it could be worth it. I think some people might want to rock the 35s and rock the manual transmission. It'd be cool with 392, but we all know that's not, well, there is a shifter for it, because you could get a Challenger, you can get a Hellcat with the manual. So they could technically do a manual 392 Wrangler. I actually think that might sell really well. Jeep, pay me royalties. 392 manual. That's all.